Have you ever promised yourself you would stay kind no matter what, and then watched your patience disappear the moment you felt cornered? Have you ever wondered whether ethics is just rules, or whether it can be the most compassionate thing you do for your own mind? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are stepping into a teaching that sounds simple and yet becomes the hardest thing in the world when life is difficult. Compassionate ethics. Not ethics as a list of commandments. Not ethics as a performance for other people, but ethics as a living practice that protects the heart from turning bitter. When times get rough, when the world feels unfair, when stress rises, when grief arrives, when anger feels justified, the question is not only what happens to our happiness, the question is what happens to our humanity. I want to carry two main ideas through this long story. First, ethics in the Buddhist sense is not about being morally superior. It is about reducing suffering in yourself and in others through the choices you repeat. If you repeat harmful choices, you create momentum that drags you into more harm. If you repeat compassionate choices, you create momentum that supports peace. Second, difficult times do not destroy compassion by themselves. Difficult times reveal what we have trained. Under pressure, the mind falls back on habit. Training is what makes compassion available when it matters. That is karma in its most practical form, cause and effect in the mind, in speech, and in relationships. Let us enter this through a story, because compassionate ethics is not learned in theory. It is learned in the heat of real life, where nobody gets to be perfect and everybody is trying to protect something. There was a person named Mira who worked in a busy environment where people were often stressed and impatient. Mira was the kind of person who genuinely wanted to do good. She cared about fairness. She cared about people. She cared about not causing harm. But she also lived with a constant background pressure, deadlines, expectations, rising costs, family obligations, the sense that everything was always almost too much. At first, Mira handled it by pushing harder. She told herself to be strong. She told herself to be productive. She told herself to not complain. She tried to keep a polite face while her nervous system ran hot. The problem with this approach is that it looks stable until the moment it cracks. And when it cracks, it often cracks into the opposite of what you value. One morning, Mira was already running late. A message came in from a manager asking why something was not finished. It was finished, but the manager had not seen it. Mira felt accused. The chest tightened. The jaw clenched. Hot thought rose. I am tired of being treated like I am failing. Mira typed a sharp reply. Not insulting, but cutting. The kind of sentence that sounds professional and still carries contempt between the words. She pressed send. 5 minutes later she regretted it. But the regret did not lead to repair. It led to self-attack. That was Mira's inner pattern. When she made a mistake, she did not learn gently. She punished herself. She replayed it. She shamed herself. Shame made her tense. Tension made her reactive. Reactivity created more mistakes. The loop continued. At lunch, a co-worker named Jonah complained about the same manager. Mira felt the urge to join in. It would feel bonding. It would feel like relief. The gossip would be sweet for a moment. So she did it. She said things that were not kind. People laughed. Mira felt a brief rush of belonging. Then she felt emptier afterward. Not because laughter is bad, but because she knew she had fed a habit that made her heart smaller. That evening, Mira went home and tried to relax, but the mind stayed restless. She scrolled, ate, distracted herself, and still felt tight. She realized she was not only tired from work, she was tired from the inner war. A mind that is constantly judging and defending is exhausting. A few days later, something happened that made the whole question of ethics feel urgent. Mira got into a conflict with her younger brother, Theo. Theo had been going through a rough time and was often irritable. Mira had been supporting him financially and emotionally. She loved him, but she also felt taken for granted. On the phone, Theo sounded dismissive and made a sarcastic comment about Mira being controlling. Mira snapped. Her voice rose. She said things she had been holding back for months. The words came out like a flood. They were not entirely untrue, but they were not skillful. Truth without compassion becomes a weapon. And in that moment, Mira was using truth to punish. Theo went silent, then said coldly that he did not need her help anyway. He hung up. Mira sat on the couch shaking, heart racing, mind spinning. She felt regret immediately. Not the regret of being wrong and content, but the regret of harming someone she loved. She wanted to call back and apologize. But pride rose. Pride said, he deserved it. Pride said, I am not the only one who should apologize. Pride said, if I soften, I will lose power. This is where difficult times reveal the real obstacle. The obstacle is not lack of love. The obstacle is the belief that power matters more than peace. Mira did not sleep well that night. In the morning, she searched for something that could help her make sense of what was happening. She did not search for religion. She searched for how to stay calm when people push your buttons. She landed on a teaching about compassionate ethics in difficult times, delivered in a calm voice that did not sound like it was trying to impress anyone. The teacher spoke about compassion as the foundation of ethics. He said that ethical discipline is not mainly about obeying rules. It is about training the mind so it does not get hijacked by destructive emotions. Destructive emotions create destructive actions. Destructive actions create regret and conflict. Regret and conflict create more suffering. That is the cycle. Ethics is a way to interrupt the cycle. Mira listened and felt something shift. She had always thought ethics meant being good. Now she heard that ethics means being free from inner chaos. Ethics as protection. Ethics as compassion planned ahead. The teacher said something else that felt like it went straight into her chest. He said that compassion is not weakness. Compassion is strength because it requires you to hold your own pain without throwing it at others. In difficult times, the easiest thing is to react. The most courageous thing is to respond. Mira realized she had been living as if reacting was honesty. But reacting was not honesty. Reacting was habit. She kept listening. The teacher explained that when people act badly, it is often because they are suffering, confused, afraid, or overwhelmed. This does not excuse harm. It explains why hatred does not solve anything. If you respond to suffering with more hatred, you add fuel to the fire. If you respond with compassion and wisdom, you can stop the fire from spreading. Mira felt resistance. Some people really do harm on purpose, she thought. The teacher acknowledged this too. He said compassion does not mean you allow harm. Compassion includes wisdom. Wisdom sets boundaries. Wisdom says no. Wisdom protects the vulnerable. Compassion without wisdom can become enabling. Wisdom without compassion can become cruelty. The path is the union of both. Mira paused the video and sat still. She realized her conflict with Theo needed exactly this union. She did not want to enable his disrespect. She also did not want to punish him with venom. She wanted to stay human. That day, she decided to practice one small thing. When she felt heat rising, she would pause and take one conscious breath before speaking. One breath sounded too small to matter. But she also remembered something the teacher said. The direction of a life can change through small repeated choices. That afternoon, the manager at work sent another message in a tone that felt blaming. Mira felt the familiar heat. The fingers wanted to type sharply. She paused. One breath. She felt her shoulders. She felt her feet. She noticed the thought, I am being disrespected. Then she asked a different question. What response reduces suffering? She typed a clear but calm reply. She attached the finished work. She asked a simple question for clarification. No sarcasm. No contempt. No hidden sting. The manager replied, Sorry. I missed it. Thank you. Mira felt relief. Not triumph. Relief from not poisoning herself. In the evening, she faced the harder situation. Theo, the mind argued. If I apologize, I lose. If I apologize, I admit I was wrong. If I apologize, he will take advantage. Then she remembered another teaching. Apology is not surrender. Apology is repair. Repair is strength. She called Theo. He did not answer. She left a short message. Her voice was steady. She said, I spoke harshly and I regret it. I care about you and I want to talk in a calmer way. When you are ready, call me. That was it. No lecture, no demand, no performance. Theo called back the next day. He sounded tired. He said he was sorry too. He admitted he had been rude. He also admitted he felt ashamed of needing help, and he turned that shame into sarcasm. Mira listened and practiced something new. Compassionate listening without fixing. She kept a part of attention on her breath. She let Theo speak. She reflected what she heard. You feel ashamed and scared. You do not want to feel dependent. You want dignity. Theo softened. They talked more honestly than they had in months. Mira also practiced wisdom. She set a boundary about what support she could give and what she could not. She spoke it without contempt. She said it as care. I want to help you. And I also need to protect my own stability. Here is what I can do. Here is what I cannot do. Theo did not love the boundary, but he accepted it. The relationship became more stable. Not perfect, but more real. Mira began to see what compassionate ethics looks like in real life. It is not about always being nice. It is about refusing to use harm as a coping strategy. Now the story widened. Because difficult times were not only at work and family. The world itself was feeling heavy. News, conflict, division, harshness online, people snapping at each other like it was normal. Mira noticed that the more she consumed, the more reactive she became. Her nervous system carried the world's anger. Then she brought it into her home. She brought it into her tone. She realized that ethics includes what you feed the mind. If you feed the mind constant outrage, the mind becomes outrage-shaped. If you feed the mind steadiness, the mind becomes steadier. This is karma, again. What you repeat becomes you. So she adjusted what she consumed, not to hide from reality, but to protect her capacity to respond wisely. She chose certain times for news. She chose certain times for silence. She chose walking without headphones. She chose short daily meditation. Not fancy, just enough to remind the body it could breathe. In meditation, she practiced a simple reflection. When irritation arose, she would label it irritation. When judgment arose, she would label it judgment. When pride arose, she would label it. Labeling was not shame. Labeling was clarity. Clarity is the beginning of freedom. She also practiced loving kindness phrases sometimes, not to force emotion, but to train intention. May I be calm. May I be kind. May I be wise. May others be safe. May others be free from suffering. At first it felt dry. Then she noticed something. When she practiced these phrases in the morning, her tone during the day softened. Not always, but more often. She became less likely to send sharp messages. She became more likely to pause. She became more likely to apologize quickly when she failed. This is where ethics becomes compassion. Ethics is not a cage. Ethics is a garden fence. It protects what you are trying to grow. Difficult times continued. Work got stressful again. A colleague made a mistake and tried to blame Mira. Mira felt anger rise. The old pattern would have been to humiliate the colleague to protect herself. Humiliation would feel satisfying for a minute. Then it would create enemies. Enemies create tension. Tension creates more mistakes. The cycle would continue. Mira paused. One breath. She asked, what response protects everyone, including me, from more suffering? She spoke to the colleague privately. She stated the facts. She asked for accountability. She did not insult. She did not gossip. She focused on repair. The colleague apologized. The situation resolved without becoming a war. Mira realized something profound. Compassionate ethics is not soft. It can be firm. It is firm without poison. Over months, the practice began changing her inner world. The inner critic softened. The self-attack reduced. She stopped treating every mistake as proof that she was failing as a person. She treated mistakes as feedback. Feedback leads to learning. Learning leads to growth. Growth leads to confidence. Confidence leads to less defensiveness. Less defensiveness leads to more compassion. The cycle became upward. She also noticed that compassion became easier when she included herself. When she excluded herself, she would become resentful and then snap. Including herself meant rest, boundaries, honest needs, and not using martyrdom as identity. This is a crucial part of compassionate ethics. If you try to be ethical by erasing yourself, you will eventually break. When you break, you will harm people. So ethics includes self-care, not as indulgence, but as the foundation of non-harm. Now, I want to introduce another person into the story, because Mira was not alone in this learning. A friend named Daria worked in a helping profession and was constantly exposed to other people's pain. Daria was kind but burned out. She had begun to feel numb. She felt guilty about numbness. Guilt made her push harder. Pushing harder made her more numb. The cycle was brutal. Mira shared what she was learning about compassion and ethics. Daria said, "I thought compassion meant feeling everyone's pain. That is why I am exhausted." Mira said, "Maybe compassion is caring without drowning. Maybe ethics is the structure that keeps compassion sustainable." Daria started practicing a simple boundary. Time limits and break every time. She started practicing a pause before responding to emotional dumping. She started practicing a calm inner phrase. "May I be steady?" She started practicing compassion for herself when she could not fix everything. Slowly, Daria felt life return. Not happiness all the time. Life. The feeling that she could care and still breathe. Daria said something that stayed with Mira. She said, "I used to think ethics was about being good. Now I see ethics is about not letting suffering turn me into someone I do not want to be." That sentence is the essence of compassionate ethics in difficult times. Now let us make it even more direct, because you might be listening right now in your own difficult time. Maybe you are stressed. Maybe you are grieving. Maybe you are angry at someone who hurt you. Maybe you feel like the world is unfair. Maybe you are overwhelmed and your patience is thin. Maybe you keep snapping at people you love, then feeling ashamed, then repeating. Compassionate ethics is for you. Not because you are bad, because you are human. Here is what it looks like in the smallest possible units. It looks like one breath before one reply. It looks like choosing truth without cruelty. It looks like setting a boundary before resentment turns into venom. It looks like apologizing quickly instead of protecting pride. It looks like refusing gossip when gossip feels like relief. It looks like caring for your nervous system so you do not leak harm. It looks like listening for suffering under words, including your own. It looks like learning to say no as compassion, not rejection. It looks like repair. None of that is dramatic. That is why it works. And this is where the Buddhist view of karma becomes empowering. You are not doomed to repeat old reaction. Reactions are trained. Training can change. Change happens through repetition. The mind becomes what it practices. If the mind practices blame, it becomes blame-shaped. If the mind practices patience, it becomes patience-shaped. If the mind practices compassion, it becomes compassion-shaped. Difficult times do not remove your agency. They reveal where agency needs training. Now I want to bring the story to a climax, because every real practice meets a moment where it must prove itself. Mira had a day where everything went wrong. Work stress, a rude message, a delayed payment, family tension, and a sudden unexpected problem with her car. She felt the whole system overload. By the time she got home, Her body was vibrating with irritation. Elise, her close friend, asked a simple question. How was your day? Mira snapped, not because Elise deserved it, because Mira was full. The snap lasted seconds. Then Mira saw Elise's face change. Hurt appeared. Silence followed. Old Mira would have justified. Old Mira would have blamed the day. Old Mira would have said, "You are too sensitive." Old Mira would have turned it into an argument to protect pride. New Mira had trained something. She felt the shame rising and did not follow it into self-attack. She chose repair. She took one breath. She said, "I am sorry. That was sharpened. You did not deserve it. I am overwhelmed and I took it out on you. I want to do better." Elise exhaled. The room softened. Elise said, "Thank you. I just want to be with you, not be a target." Mira felt tears. She realized that this was the real fruit of ethics. Ethics protected love. Later, Mira reflected on this moment and understood something that felt like awakening. Compassion is not only about what you do in calm times. Compassion is what you do after you fail. Do you double down on ego? Or do you repair and return? Returning is the path. Now I want to close the whole story with a reflection that can stay with you. In difficult times, the world teaches you to harden. Hardened people may look strong, but they often suffer deeply. Hardness isolates. Hardness creates enemies. Hardness makes you lonely inside your own chest. Buddhism does not ask you to be naive. Buddhism asks you to be wise. Wisdom can be firm without being cruel. Compassion can be strong without being violent. Ethics is the bridge that makes that possible. Compassionate ethics means you choose, again and again, to reduce suffering rather than multiply it, even when you could justify harshness. It means you protect your heart from becoming what you hate. It means you build a destiny based on steady kindness, clear boundaries, and honest repair. Thank you for being here with me. Share your story in the comments in your own words. Where do you struggle most with ethics in difficult times? In family conflict, in work stress, online, or in your own inner voice? What helps you pause before you react? And if you want more long-form teachings and stories like this, please subscribe, like the video, and support the channel in whatever way is possible for you. Until next time, keep breathing, keep practicing, and keep choosing the kindest next step.